So this video I'm actually filming recently because today is the 13th of April. I'm probably gonna upload, first I have to create some travel vlogs that I made from 2023 and 24. But anyway, I just wanted to start filming this video. Anyone who's ever had a horrible, just a complete lack of self-awareness and abusive parents. For me, that's my father. He's really annoying because he acts like my sister, my mom, and me, he acts like we don't know what we're talking about when we know a lot more than he does. My mom and I, we live here in the house with him. I don't really have a choice. So, just to give you, show you, I'm doing something on Canva right now. But just to show you the kind of stupid things that he does. I don't know if this is just Android phones. I don't know if iPhone does this. So you know how when you film or when you're like on a video call, this chair is squeaky. They'll show you when you're using the volume of the microphone or whatever, they'll show you the little tiny green icon thing. You guys probably know what I'm talking about. And you know, he has it in his head that's like someone's recording him or watching him. And then when I try to say, no, that's not what it means. No one's watching you, because why would anybody watch him? And then he's like, you don't know what you're talking about. I've been alive longer than you. That doesn't mean you know everything. And then today he was like, you should have a degree so you can make a lot of money. But that's not what it's about. He doesn't want me to have a degree so I can make a lot of money. He wants me to have a degree so he can impress people. That's what he wants. My sister, by comparison, she has a master's degree, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if she also has a bachelor's, but yeah, she has a master's in psychology, I think. She did a lot of hard work to get all that done, but still, that's not for everybody. You know, I have a degree too, but it's an associate's degree, so I can't really do much with it, and I think it's some kind of projection on his part, because he has an associate's degree in psychology or substance abuse. I don't know. It's like one of those small, I mean, there's nothing wrong with having an associate's degree. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. He has narcissistic personality disorder. I really think he wants to have bragging rights, so he can say, oh, both my daughters, they have such high degrees. They make a lot of money. You know, because that's how it is with people with NPD. They care about appearances. I'm going to talk about that later. So he can be like, oh, well, I wasn't successful, so now I can... How do I say this? How do I say this correctly? He's like insecure about his own degree and that his life was kind of like unsuccessful. I want you to be a success to make me feel better. And you know something else he said? You're dependent on your mother. Like, I try to do my own thing in the house. I'm really trying hard to be successful in my own way. Of course, sometimes I have to depend on my mom because, you know, I don't really have a choice. But, you know, it's not like I do that all the time. He acts like I ask her for stuff every 5 minutes. But again, projection, because he makes her pay for everything. Ever since I was little, he would play the lottery. In my previous video, the one I just uploaded with me wearing that pink dress, trying to practice those expressions, if you look behind me, you'll see all those lottery tickets. Those are all his. He's been buying lottery tickets like that since I was little because he's so desperate to win, instead of putting money aside, which he should have done in the first place. And then he complains about me like not having a high degree and not being rich, not having all this other stuff. Of course, I try to save my money when I can. I don't like to spend a lot. I mean, I really wish I could. It's just really hard. And then when after he said about, oh, you depend on your mom for everything, then he's like, she did everything on her own. But you know what? That's not a good thing. he wasn't a very good parent. And I mean, my mom, she's doing better now, but you know, she kind of let it happen, you know. Compared to her, he's like actually the one that caused all the issues in our house. So he gambled, which is playing the lottery, spending money when he could be setting it aside for a rainy day. And then he hoards stuff, which is why for me hoarding is so annoying. My sister and my mom and I we try to be organized. Because I've been to my sister's house. Her house is so nice. Like everything is organized. I think that's why I've been trying to clean in this house, like make everything organized, because I'm kind of like influenced by what she has in her house. And it's actually not that hard to clean and organize things, but I think it's not just because of her. I think I've always had like a bit of need to organize everything. So even like with my computer, I organize things into folders. So I always had that in me to organize things. So yeah, I like organizing. My previous video where I'm wearing the pink dress, you can also, on top where I said where the lottery tickets were, there's like these stands. Those are speakers for like an old karaoke system. And I told him, you know, you can take that to Goodwill or to any of those places and get rid of it. You know what he said? No, I want to have that for my museum. If you want to open a museum, that's fine. But why aren't you filling out the paperwork to get it done? Yeah, he wants to rent I'm not making this up. He wants to rent a castle, like in England somewhere or in Europe. And he wants to rent a castle to put his museum in. As if anyone's just going to let him buy a castle. So back to his NPD, so caring about appearances. I remember growing up, he would always make a big deal about, he's like, oh, we need to, as a family, we need to take a photo shoot. I guess we didn't have time or we just didn't feel like going. And he would get so upset that we didn't want to do it. And they said people with NPD, they care about appearances a lot. So I think he just wanted us to have a nice photo shoot to make it seem like we're like a stable family with no problems. But of course we have problems, you know. So he just wants it to seem like we're put together when we're not. And yeah, that really bothers me. I can probably say that my natural distrust of men, besides not looking good and being treated terribly because of that, is because of him. He doesn't think he did anything wrong. But I mean, it's annoying, but like I'm over it, you know. It's just that I have to say something. I don't think he's really that good. He's generous sometimes, but it doesn't cancel out the other annoying traits. You know what I mean? I'm sure anyone who's watching this with a caregiver parent who's like this, you're probably nodding your head being like, yep, my parent's the exact same way. He's inconsiderate. That's what I was going to say. He's inconsiderate. He has no self-awareness. He's probably forgotten that he used to terrify me growing up. The tone that he would use was to make me as a child afraid and to scare me into complying with what he said instead of giving me a choice whether I could say yes or no. And of course, he doesn't remember any of that. And I know they're doing a lot better now, but you know, my mom and my sister, they didn't actually help with that either, because I was kind of the family punching bag growing up, so it definitely explains a lot about me, why I such have a hard time talking to people. Like, to give an example, like one of my friends, I met her in high school. She's nice. But I met her in high school, and I remember when I first started speaking to her, it took like about 2 weeks of us talking a little bit every day for me to get comfortable with her. And you know, now we talk comfortably now, but I'm just saying that's how long it takes. I've never been with anybody, so like I'm okay being single, but you know, it can be hard. So, especially as I'm getting older. It makes me sad, but I'm not like in agony over it. I already said on my blog that I don't want kids. I don't want to raise any. I don't want to adopt any. I don't want to go through pregnancy or any of that. And it doesn't really bother me. So I just expect to stay single for the rest of my life. Yeah, it's really hard growing up like that with the father who is just... Because the problem with my father is just like, one minute in my childhood he was scary and intimidating, the other minute he was like kind of like okay. Growing up, I didn't know what was going to make him angry, so dealing with that kind of unpredictability made him very untrustworthy. Now if he gets angry, I'm just like, whatever, that's your problem. He's still not trustworthy because, you know, just like today, he was like, I was trying to help him with something on his phone, and this has nothing to do with the green dot, but it was something else. And he's like, oh, you should go out and have a degree. Because, you know, I guess I didn't explain something to him clearly, and then he does this kind of thing where he criticizes us about something completely unrelated. So, yeah, that's how it came to that. I just want to say that anyone who has a parent or a caregiver or anyone else in their life who's like this, actually, especially if you have a parent who's like this, I just want to say that I believe you. I will never tell you, oh, but they're family. I will never say that to you. You have a right to feel about your parent, caregiver, if they're abusive the way you do. Yeah, I believe you. There's going to be a lot of people who invalidate people like us, but that's why we have, you know, the internet and other people. And, you know, it is kind of annoying when you see people who are like, they judge the adult child for not putting up with the nonsense. And it's kind of like a denial, kind of, because they're like, and a projection, because they're like first in denial because they might have an abusive parent themselves, but they don't want to admit it. And it could also be a projection because let's say their parent is no longer here. But as a non-professional fiction writer, I just tried to really try to create my worlds. I only have like one fictional world technically, but I try to create them as like my ideal, kind of, but my story, which was inspired by people and one certain person from that group of people. Yes, I'm talking about men. Surprise, surprise. But in that universe, it takes place in the future, so there's like a real shaming going on if you're not like a good parent. Like, people will shame you for it, but there's also they don't just let people just go out and figure everything out on their own. Well, for people who know what story I'm talking about, I'm gonna write it up here because I sound really ridiculous when I say it. And I'm gonna make it so like they have this curriculum where like they start these kind of like babysitting, parenting kind of psychology classes, like when kids are like almost adults. And this sort of takes place like in the future, like 27, 26. Yeah, I think Oz, since he's Audrey and Adam's grandpa, probably he'd be like, or like early 2700, you know? I still need to figure out the timeline. They have very comprehensive classes, I think, to prepare kids for adulthood. So puberty, child care, taxes, civics. I mean, these are like the secondary school kind of classes. So, and then, oh yeah, they also teach them some basic skills like cooking and baking and cleaning. The adults in this story, you become an adult when you're 20, because I figured this is like in the future, so things will change. So in this part of their world, because 19 like has the word teen in it, so why not make 20 an adult, you know? Oh yeah, and, emergency preparedness, that's going to be one of those essential classes. So yeah, the basic summary of Oz's early years is that he has his grandma, and then she knows this woman named Ava, whose name is going to be spelled with an E, Eva. It's kind of like a reference to Adam and Eve, because Adam is his grandson, but like Ava is like you can call her like the mother of time travel, if you want to put it that way. She becomes the new teacher at his school, but he knows her already. Like, I guess I'm gonna make it so he's known her since he was like a little kid or something, and she's kind of like she's like about 10, I guess 15 years older than him, so she's not really like a mom, but she's like kind of like an aunt almost. This girl's gonna come from another state, a new student, Maddie, short for Madeline, and she's gonna come over and she's going to join Oz and his friends, and then they're gonna find out she's gonna be like an amateur guitarist, like she's just starting to learn. And then at some point, maybe like early in the story, I'm gonna jump to the future, and it's gonna be like them 6 or 7 years later. Everyone is like 17 or 18, and you know, they're almost done with school, and the band, because that's what Maddie's joining, Oz's friend's band. He's not included in the band because he's not a very good singer. He's just like the camera documentator, so he's just recording everyone. That's going to be important later. But yeah, just time jump to like a few years later, and then the band is like really successful, or as successful as a bunch of teenagers can be. So, and then I'll just pick up the story from there. And yeah, that's pretty much all I want to say. If you watched this video all the way through, thank you. Like I said, the next video will probably be just a bunch of vlogs, because I really do not like talking to the camera. I don't like showing my face, especially when I don't look good. So yeah. Anyway, trying to remember what I used to say. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.